Yes, it is Tuesday for Sask Lottery's main fundraiser, Sport, Culture, Recreation in Saskatchewan. Thank you very much. Barney Shynkaruk here for 3 hours. CNC, Curtis and Colson are on the other side of the board. Ryan Pollock will be my co-host. He'll be here for hours 2 and 3. April 1st. April Fool's Day. What's the take on it out there in SportsCage land? Prairieland Rentals text line 936-6262. Prairieland Rentals, 600 Albert Street. Since 1986, you get to deal with the owner. Any jobs, small or big, stop in there. I want to get people, I want first Colson and Curtis in a bit here to chime in on what are some of the good April Fool's jokes that you've had played on you or that you've played. I got one in my history of life that I really remember that I played on a couple of individuals. Other than that, I think it's been pretty good. I was researching some of the sports ones through history. Some of them are pretty lame, to be honest. Guys shaving mustaches and all that. The one that I remember, and Colson, your brother probably will remember this, is when Julian Edelman said on to the next chapter, and it was a picture of him signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Brady and Gronk were there. And it was so believable because everyone thought that Edelman was probably going to end up with those two there. And it was April Fool's joke. There are some good basketball ones that I'll get into in a bit, but I want to hear out there if you have any. 936-6262. For the show today, we're going to recap what's going on in the SJHL. Curling in Moose Jaw, Canada. Big game tonight. A lot of people making their way to Moose Jaw for the one tonight against the Italians. We have news from the Saskatchewan Roughriders on their training camp. Cody Mapes, head coach of the Weyburn Red Wings, will join us in hour 1. They disposed of the Battleford's North Stars yesterday. They're on to the next round of the SJHL playoffs. We'll talk to Cody. Jeff Stoughton, absolute weapon when it came to curling in the late 90s, early 2000s, curled out of Manitoba. He was I want to say he was one of the first, good-looking dudes out there, fit, curling. I'm a happily married man. He did the 360 out of the hack thing, which a lot of people thought was, the first time you saw it, you're like, what kind of saucery is this? Jeff Stoughton will join us in hour 1. Have some questions for him. Always respected him as a curler. Hour 2, how about we talk to Logan Ferland? Just re-upped or extended with our Saskatchewan Roughriders. Logan from Melfort, Saskatchewan. I think he lives in Saskatoon now. He's going to join us to start hour 2. Arash Madani will be in. And then the SJHL report with Benny Walchuk for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Hour 3, Glen Suitor will be here. And like I said, Ryan Pollock co-hosting for the last 2 hours. Okay, so let's start with the April Fools gibberish. Colson, you said you have a good one that was played on you or that you played on someone?
Played on my family. I dodged it. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was probably out working early that day. But my sister is an avid baker and cook, and so she got up before the rest of my family. This is, I want to say, probably 5 or 6 years ago. I don't remember if it was before or after COVID, but she got up before everybody and made a big spread for breakfast. Pancakes, muffins, everything, right? My dad and my brothers get up, they start eating it, and they're like, this doesn't taste exactly right. It's not bad. It's not amazing. And in short, every recipe where there was supposed to be sugar, she put in salt.
Oh.
And so it was enough where this doesn't taste good, but it's not bad enough where you're like wanting to puke or anything out of it. I come from a big family of eaters and lots of guys, so they just all stomached it and ate it down. And yeah, a couple hours later, she finally comes out and just howling, laughing. Yeah, it was all salt. So
Wow.
I dodged that bullet, thankfully.
See, those, I don't know where I land on those kind of pranks where you have to eat something. My wife showed me one last night where it was, chocolate covered strawberries on a stick.
Yep.
And those look delightful. I don't know anyone that doesn't like those.
Yeah.
But it was a display of those, but it was chocolate covered Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. That's dirty.
I've heard of somebody going the extra mile of making it like rewrapping a Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah.
Like sprinkling it with coconuts and everything too, but it's a chocolate covered Brussels sprout.
Yeah.
And like rewrapping it and everything. So yeah, some people go the extra mile.
I don't know. And then, okay, what is the deal with afternoon? You can't play any April Fool's pranks on anyone. When did that become a thing? I think that came from the education sector, as we talked about in our pre-meeting today earlier this morning. That's where somebody thought that it originated, and I'm like, since when did they call the shots on how we roll with April Fool's Day? I think if you want to play an April Fool's Day tonight at 11 p.m., 11:45 p.m., that's your thing. Go nuts.
As adults, yeah, I think we're allowed to make our own decisions there. For developing preteens and teenagers, I think they want a little control over the day, right? Because there's enough shenanigans that go on a regular school day. So they want a little control over the day where you have an almost automatic excuse to get out of some things, right? So,
any good ones from you, Curtis?
Yeah, you know what? I actually do have one. It might be borderline froshing at like one of my jobs, but there is
What's froshing? Like hazing?
Yeah, like
Okay.
hazing. So hazing someone that's new.
Yeah.
So there was a kid, his name was like Raleigh, and we convinced him that
Good name.
yeah, and then the first of the month you got to do inventory. So I got, all right, Raleigh, we got to get you to do some inventory today. We need you to go out back. We need you to go to the ice machine, and we need you to inventory the ice cubes.
What kind of ice machine are we picturing in our minds here?
Like
one of those,
like an industrial
like a
one.
hotel? Like when you're going to get after it at a hockey party with parents?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much, but bigger.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it probably had thousands of ice cubes in it. And the thing is, you can't actually count the ice cubes because it'll keep making more. But yeah, he's like, yeah, very funny. April Fools, am I right? And my kitchen manager, deadpan, is like, I'm serious, really. Go back there and count them. So he kind of did a double take. He's like, you sure? And it's like, I'm serious. And we let him count ice cubes for like 10 minutes, and then we came back and like, we're joking, really. Get back out here. We got work to do. But
So you're kind of in that demographic. Though. What are you, Gen? Are you millennial? Just before?
I think we missed the boat on millennial.
So just pre-millennial.
yeah, what's it? Gen X?
I think
No.
we're Z.
Gen Z, or
Yeah,
something like
you're
that.
not definitely not X. I think I'm X.
Yeah.
Because millennials are Gen Y technically, and then they got renamed.
But
As
Raleigh, I'm thinking he was in that millennial, possibly late Gen Z, whatever.
He was a youngin'. I think
So
it was 2003, 2004.
I'm surprised he just didn't get up and quit. Like, no, see you later. Because that's kind of the mantra of that demo, I feel. It's like, yeah, no, you find someone else to do it, I'm out. It's like the revolving door of employees.
You need some money for tater tots at the school cafeteria, you know, so you can't just up and quit, you know. But
There was one, FIBA basketball has played some really good ones on their Twitter over the years. And I think now when it comes to April 1st, no one believes them. But the one I remember was instead of overtime, each team nominates a player for a game of horse.
Nice.
And they play. And it was kind of hook, line, and sinker. A lot of people believed in that one. Again, the FIBA basketball, replacing player names on the back of their jerseys with Instagram handles. Actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills, they did a jersey drop in 2022, and yellow, orange, like a Bills Mafia. It wasn't a bad one. Yeah, so I'm not prank guy. Do you guys got that friend that like always wants to, Marc-Andre Fleury in the NHL? He'd be hard to play with because it seems like you always got to be on your toes. He's always pranking guys. I'm not, even when my kids like, and they're growing out of that. The daughter still does it once in a while where she thinks it's funny to stand around the corner and scare the crap out of you. And when you're not expecting it, and it's like, okay, you know this can be played both ways, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to hide under your bed and make noises in the middle of the night and you'll think there's a monster under there. Will that be funny? No.
Yeah. I'm a quiet walker. So every so often I won't be trying to scare my wife, but she gets spooked when I just kind of show up, and I'm like, I wasn't actively trying to be quiet. I just was. So she gets me back every so often now too. But yeah, that's kind of the classic one, right? Stand around the corner and surprise them.
Our lady at the front, RV, I walk around like a Clydesdale, and I'm sick. So at this point, I don't really care. The last 48 hours of my life, I scared her today. I'm like, how didn't you hear me coming? It's a hollow floor. It's plywood. Yeah, so if you have any, 306-936-6262. You got to keep them short though. So you can't read long ones. April Fool's jokes. Do you play them? Have you played a good one? Like I said, I got one good one in my back pocket. I'll tell later. But and then what's your take on noon? Is noon the cutoff? I don't think so. You'd be able to play all day. Maybe if you're in schools, okay, I get it. Just till noon. But everybody else in the world, they can go around the clock today. Let her play. Last night, SJHL, we figured out who's moving on to the next round. And Flin Flon and Weyburn are advancing. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by the head coach of those Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes. It's the SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com, on X, always on 620 CKRM. Out in Moose Jaw right now, the afternoon draw. Canada's not playing, but China's up 5-1 on Norway. Germany hammering Korea 8-1. Sweden and Switzerland. That's an interesting matchup if you're following the standings. They're tied 2-2. And Scotland just scored in the fourth to take a 3-2 lead on Italy. Canada plays Italy tonight if you're making your way to Moose Jaw for that. It's Barney. Ryan Pollock will be with me in a bit here for Saskatchewan Lottery. CNC are with me. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Western Pizza, perfect pizza, generous amount of toppings, all the Greek favorites you love. Pick one up tonight on your way home. Probably a late night. I would think last night a little bit for this guy, head coach of the Weyburn Red Wings. Cody Mapes is on the SportsCage. Did Dad Cliff ever play any good April Fool's jokes on you back in the day, Cody?
No, he's too uptight for April Fools.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I always thought Cliff was a little kind of loose. Good night last night, right, for you guys. We predicted here on the cage, like we thought this one's gonna go 7. You guys find a way to get her done last night traveling. The series go as expected for you from your lens?
You know what? I think if we kind of had to make a prediction, it was probably pretty close. I wouldn't have expected, having to win 3 games in their rink to get it done in 6. But at the end of the day, we won 4 out of 5 in that rink this year. So obviously pretty comfortable there. The game 5, we probably didn't put our best foot forward and kind of let one slip away at home in front of a big crowd. But either way, it was good to be able to wrap it up there.
Did you learn a lot about some of the guys on the team through this series and then going into the next series?
Yeah, absolutely. Like every year we kind of talk to our guys about like, hey, this is, this 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, however long this is going to go for. guys develop so much. Like they develop more in this 2 to 6 weeks than they do in probably half a season, just with really dialing in on systems and details and overcoming adversity, whether it be playing 6 games in 11 days or whatever it is. Like guys, if that's the beginning of February, guys don't really push through like they do here in March. And so it's good to see kind of the rubber meet the road here and see who can pull through.
That's funny you bring that up, because I think that's true in any hockey, right? Watching minor hockey, even watching Bantam this year, it's like, well, these 3 weeks, like some of these kids grew so much and dialed it in, like you said. Goaltending, always key in the playoffs. How did you feel you guys fared there?
Well, that's, what, you give me 3 chances to win 1 game with Angelo Zoll, and I'll take that against anybody. You know what? I think he would probably say he left a little meat on the bone in game 5. And you know what? When I kind of saw him walking around, I knew he was going to be good in game 6. And if it weren't for a little bit of a botched icing call, he probably gets a shutout in game 6. But he was unbelievable for us. I thought the guys, we took some time to settle in. Like this is a group here that a lot of guys have never won a playoff series, and so we needed our guy back there to let us settle in, and he did that for us. And the second half of the game, we kind of just started to take over. Our depth kind of allowed us to play some pretty good minutes down the stretch.
When I look at the box score from last night's game, first thing when I was reading it this morning, I was like, ooh, it kind of gets greasy in that 10 seconds left, and at the 20 mark, some spearing penalty on the other side. Is that a moment, one of those ones as a coach where you're like, don't no one gets suspended here?
Well, it was getting a little hairy there, and I saw their big boy on their other bench get one leg over the boards, and I went, this might get real hairy. But no, it was good. You know what? It was a passionate series. They've got some real good players on their team that care a lot, and that's all that was coming out at the end. It's a little bit of frustration on their part, and we buckled down the last minute and a half there to make things hard on them. And so I don't put any thought into that too much. It was just good competitiveness.
How do you think you match up against Flin Flon?
You know what? They're the top of the league. They've been the top of the league for a long time. Mike's done a real good job. They've played in 3 league finals in a row. I think we match up okay. It'll be, again, we didn't actually match up real well against Battleford if you look at the regular season. So, I mean, that stuff doesn't matter. We've only played Flin Flon once since the beginning of November, and it was an overtime game that ended in a 3-on-3, so you won't see that. And so, I like their goaltending. They can score at will at times, it seems, and they've got the Whitney Forum behind them. So I mean, we're going to have to make sure that we're dialed in and our emotions are in check. And so, this is going to be another big learning curve here moving forward.
That's what I was just going to say. You're going to learn more now about some of those guys, especially the younger guys going up their second round of the playoffs, having to play in the Whitney, which is like their 7th skater.
Yeah, I've never been there in the playoffs either. I've heard I've heard all the horror stories too, but you know what? It's going to be fun. You don't get to play in a place like that every year in the playoffs, and so we're excited about it. And it's another challenge, another step in the right direction. So, yeah,
right on, Cody. Well, thanks for making some time today and doing this. Really looking forward to how the next round transpires. And yeah, you guys will be putting some miles on heading north. Best of luck.
Thanks, man.
Right on. Cody Mapes, he is the head coach of the Weyburn Red Wings, took care of the Battleford Stars yesterday. The other series also wrapped up. Now that the Flin Flon plays Weyburn, they shut out Humboldt last night, 5-0. So Flin Flon heading back home, waiting for the Red Wings. I think those will start on Saturday, and then we have obviously the other one, Melfort and Yorkton. So I don't know what Sharky's schedule's like. We might have to take in a Melfort. We all might have to go. Roscoe, lock down the half ton. we all might have to go to Yorkton to watch Melfort and Yorkton.
Just as long as you're not sending us to Flin Flon, I think we can do that. But
well, Flin Flon would be a trip, man.
It'd be fun. It's a trip, like you said.
That'd have been a good April Fool's joke for me to play on you guys today. Let you guys know our itinerary for a jaunt up to the Flon.
Didn't you hear? We're up in Flin Flon.
Oh yeah, no. 936-6262 Prairie Land Rentals text line. SJHL reports we're going to have Benny Walchuk coming up later for Southie Mainline Chrysler. We'll break down the semifinal series, which are coming up. Let's take a quick break. We're hoping next segment to be joined by former Canadian Brier winner, world champion skip from Manitoba back in the day, Jeff Stoughton. It is a SportsCage on 620 CKRM. Fellas are going to get Jeff Stoughton on the link here momentarily. Don't forget, it's calling all fans. Register for the SportsCage Insider Report. Scores, the latest news, and opportunities to win VIP access to the biggest events. All you have to do is click on sportscage.com. I was there today, first thing in the morning. I usually go to sportscage.com, check out what is going on, especially with the SJHL playoffs underway. Fort Knox, they have a 2-0 series lead on the Saskatoon Wesleys in the Prairie Junior Hockey League. Back at it on Saturday. We're hoping to have a couple of the fellas and a coach join us later in the SportsCage. I guess we got to talk about the Western Hockey League tonight too, right? I know a number of people in the Saskatoon area. Seeing if the Blades can muster a win at home against the powerful Calgary Hitmen, former Regina Pat, Tanner Howe. That puck drop 7 o'clock in Saskatoon tonight. Down the road in Swift Current. Maz and I talked about it yesterday. If you've ever been to a big hockey game in Swift Current, you know what I'm talking about. It should be packed in there tonight, 7 o'clock, Medicine Hat commanding lead. Swifty, they'll be gritty, they'll be scrappy, trying to pull out one. In Game 3, Prince Albert is in Edmonton at 7 o'clock. And then 6 o'clock puck drop our time in Brandon. The Lethbridge Hurricanes take on the Brandon Wheat Kings. So Western Hockey League firing back up today. All of our Western Hockey League info and reports are always for Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina and Umbrella Marketing. If you need any team kits done for ball season, spring hockey season, see the professionals at Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. Oh, that's cold. Western Pizza guest hotline. Let's not keep them waiting. Let's go out. We are joined by, was it 3-time Brier champion, 2-time world champion. I was looking up and I was like, man, it seemed like this guy, he was in the Brier a lot. Yeah, 11 times. Jeff Stoughton joining us. Hey, Jeff, thanks for making some time today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So you're the national men's team coach for the Curling Canada. The guys are in Moose Jaw. You got to explain, what does that job entail? Take the listeners through what the coach does.
Yeah, so I guess from my perspective, it's I look after our 5 national teams. So we have teams that we have that are carded, meaning they're carded athletes. They get funding from the Olympic Association and they get funded from Curling Canada. So we have 5 men's teams, 5 ladies teams. I look after the 5 men's teams, get them all set up for the start of the year, go to some big events with them, sit on the bench for any of those teams. And really lucky that I get to take the winning team from the Brier to the World Championships, and then coming up, the winning team from the Olympic trials to the Olympics. So, I see the guys all year. I'm not their team coach, but I help out just because I've done this so often between all the things that go on behind the scenes with World Curling and Curling Canada and everything else. So do all the background stuff as well.
A curling coach is similar to what kind of coach in any other sport?
I guess if you're a coach for the team, I would have to say you're just a normal coach. I mean, you're looking at the team, you're talking pregame, postgame. You're definitely not setting a lineup, that's for sure, because the teams take care of themselves. But a lot of the guys are really technical, making sure when they're practicing that they're throwing the rock properly. Most of the teams in our national team program are pretty experienced, so there's not a lot of strategic things to talk about. But from a pure coaching perspective, that's what a coach would be doing. They would be like, probably like a basketball coach. All those guys know what they're doing, but they get them together and make them do it right as a team.
You're not rifling through a bunch of analytics before every game and worrying about
Well, we actually do have some good analytics going here too now. Yeah, we look at the team that we're playing next, see if there's any trends for any of the players. Maybe we can exploit that. See what kind of strategy they're using earlier on. With the 5 rock rule, there's quite a normal setup for the first four or five rocks, so we kind of get a good idea what a team might do, and they probably have a good idea what we're doing as well.
Oh, that's cool. Jeff Stoughton joining us here on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. The Brad Jacobs, we had Brad on Friday on the show. They come the long way at the Briar. You were at the Briar 11 times. I don't know if you ever had to come the long way to win one of them, but that's a feat. And he said, you know what, they never really panicked. They didn't feel like, we're totally out of this. But that's something special, right? When you can kind of come the long way.
Yeah, it's quite a feat. I mean, you're on the brink of, you're basically went from the 1-2 game where if you win, you're in the final pretty much, or you're in the semifinal anyway, but to lose to where you've got to win 4 in a row, sudden death. And, hats off to those guys. They talked about it after, saying that they didn't hang their heads. They felt they were playing really well. They just needed a break or two and keep playing and keep doing what they're doing. And man, they ran the table and they beat, pretty well all teams that were top 6 in the world and top 4 in Canada. So it was quite an impressive run. And, we expect them to do the same thing here.
A guy we've had on the show a lot. He's a local legend in Regina. I get to golf with him in the summer and all that. Benny Hebert. I
was going to say, you're going to say Ben Hebert, local legend. Oh my God.
How do you? What do you think about Ben? One thing I asked Brad was, what do you remember about the first time maybe meeting Ben, or what's your take on Benny?
Ben's a great guy. I mean, on and off the ice, he is a fiery competitor. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I don't think any of us like losing, so no one takes a loss very well. He loves winning. He's just a competitor through and through. I mean, he just loves the game, and he is as fun on and off the ice. I mean, we have a blast off the ice, lots of jokes, lots of fun, lots of chatting. So, as you probably know, Ben, he's got lots of stories. So he's just a great guy. He's a great guy to be around. He keeps the room and the mood pretty light, that's for sure. But I will say he's pretty nervous guy too. He, that first game at the Worlds, they hadn't been there for a while, and I know the whole team was feeling the nerves and the excitement. And I'll give him a break. Say it was more excitement than everything else. So he was pretty fired up and ready to go for that first game. But it's great to see that it means so much to these guys.
I think your last Briar was 2014. When you go back, why did you get into curling? Was it as a kid? What got you into the sport of curling?
Yeah, I mean, probably like most young kids growing up in Winnipeg, I played everything, hockey and soccer and baseball and curling, and I took up curling probably later than most now. I was probably 14 or 15, and through the family. I mean, my mom and dad curled a ton at the Fort Rouge Curling Club, and our first spiel would have been a family spiel, playing at the Rouge, winning some toasters or something like that. So the family brought me up to it, and at the end of the day, I knew I wasn't going to be big enough to play hockey or football, and I just loved it. I mean, I was down at the club every night just begging someone to let me play lead or let me go throw some rocks if someone got off early. And I think that's what, kids find their passion, and I found it pretty early and just loved it ever since, and lucky to be involved even now. Yeah,
that's awesome. Did you have a favorite curler growing up when you were young?
Not really. I mean, I loved watching on TV Ed Wernick and Al Hackner and the guys. They all played, sort of their era. Just loved the competition that was out there and just trying to figure out how to be on that stage. And it takes time, but eventually got there.
world champion twice. One was in Saski, right? You won it in Regina. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone asks that. It was in 2011, and I tell you, whenever someone asks, I can't stop smiling. It was the greatest week ever. The fans were just unbelievable, and it'd been a long time since I'd been to a Worlds, and the team as well. And I remember just going out there and going like, yeah, it will be no big deal. You know, we've been there before. We've played at Briars with thousands of people. And I go out there and, oh my God, I was crapping my pants. It was just one of those things where you just didn't expect it. And the heartbeat, I don't think ever got under 120 for that first game. We were pretty calm and cool, but man, it was thumping pretty good. And I think we finally took control with the shot in the 8th end and the roof blew off. And because the fans were just waiting for something to happen. And it took a long time. We got there, calmed down for the week, and what can I say? I mean, the fans in Regina are outstanding. It was like playing at home, basically, just down the road from Winnipeg here. But it's just a memory I'll never forget with all the fans and the family. It was cool because the kids were old enough to understand what Dad was doing now, so they were all there, and it just makes it special when everyone's there that has been helping you out to achieve your goal.
This might be a tough one, but you had a great career. When you go back, is there one shot or one game you'd like to another crack at to replay?
Yeah, there's always got to be one or two. Losing the trials final in 2005 to Brad Gushu, obviously great player. Yeah. You would love to have a shot or two back and go, if I would have done that, or if we would have set it up a little bit better earlier on. And to be honest, I never look at it from a team perspective. I always look at it from my own, like, I missed that one, or I was a little heavy on that draw. Our team, we were just so strong. Like we had put, just like everybody else, so I shouldn't be saying we. Anyway, everyone puts so much effort and time into it, and it felt it was our time, and to come up a half an inch short or whatever it was on a rollout in the 10th that maybe could have pushed us to an extra end. So you never know if we would have won or not. But it was just one of those things, like throughout the game, it was like, we're just clinging on here, just hanging on. And that's one you would love to get back to have that opportunity to go to the Olympics for sure.
I remember and kind of going back, and then I was working in TV at the time, and I was like, you know what, these curlers are starting to, like, they're in good shape. They're kind of like golfers now, right? Like, so they're like working, they're in good shape. And and you were always one of the guys. I'm like, that guy looks like, he can play a lot of different sports. I asked Benny this once on a podcast. Did you ever know you were in a TV game and maybe get a little workout in underneath the stands to get your swole on?
Get the veins popping a little bit. No, I mean, we always had a good little warm up just to make sure we were ready to go, but nothing specific. Probably not like Benny doing some like 50 push-ups or something before the game to make sure he looked a little pumped up. But it certainly has changed. I mean, the guys are all taking care of themselves, and that's just the evolution of sport for sure.
Do guys go to the patch more in your day than they do now, or is there still a little sprinkling?
Geez, I would say it's not attended now until you're eliminated. Probably more back in our day. There was a few more visits to the patch, in the 90s. Yeah, there's no doubt there was probably a few more visits to the patch. And, it's just a different game. I mean, there's someone, a lot of them, it's their livelihood. A lot of them, work in the summertime and curl in the wintertime. And so it means a lot to them. So it means it's pretty serious for them. But I know, like the guys said, they'll get down there with the trophy, hopefully on Sunday night.
It's a chance for a curler to be like a rock star. Like I was at Briar last year, and it was like Team Sask. Like it's so cool. Okay, last one for you. When's the last time you came out of the hack and did the 360 that you're famous for?
Oh man, yeah. Well, hard to say. Probably the worst time I did it was in the 2013 Briar final against frickin' Brad Jacobs because we were getting our asses kicked. So we did it there. Probably done it a few times at a curling club when someone said, "Could you do it or not?" and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty funny, but haven't done it for a while, that's for sure.
Right on, Jeff. Thanks for having some fun with this, making some time and joining us. And obviously everybody's behind Canada there in Moose Jaw and hoping that they do bring that trophy to the patch on the final day.
Yeah, let's hope so. Just keep coming out and cheering the boys on. They really appreciate it and having lots of fun with it for sure. Right. Thank you so much.
National team coach 11 times at the Briar. He won the Worlds twice right here in Regina. Jeff Stoughton joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. You never know who you're going to run in when you're out in Winnipeg. Like I said, it'll be a busy one tonight. Canada takes on Italy. I know of one party bus going from Regina to Moose Jaw for that one tonight. So it'll be rowdy. Will be a lot of fun. It is a Sports Cage. We're streaming live at sportscage.com. We're on X and on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, the radio, 620 CKRM. Welcome back. Tuesdays for Saskatchewan Lotteries, the main fundraiser for over 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. Not a bad night to go grab a Sports Select ticket or a Pools ticket. A number of NHL games on the board. Looking at some of the lines, right? Washington, Boston. What do we got? Ovi's 5? He needs 5. Gut tells me he gets one tonight against Boston. What do you guys think?
Isn't Boston normally a good team?
Boston's not good this year.
Oh, okay.
Boston's struggling. Their goaltending's been hit and miss.
He's gonna set up in the shop, you know. He's gonna be in front of the net, you know. He's gonna tip something, and next thing you know, 4 goals away.
Isn't that normally the empty net these days? Is that what his shop is?
4. They said, what did they say? It was 5 goals away when Wayne starts to travel with. Wayne, you could stay at home tonight. He's not scoring 5 in one game. Like, when's the last time? You maybe look that up. When's the last time someone scored 5 goals in an NHL game? That's not happening. But tonight, he scores. Now we're at 4. Crazier things have happened. Maybe that's when Wayner starts traveling. Big win last night for the Calgary Flames. Now, if you're a Calgary Flames fan, I don't know what your blood pressure, your heart rate was at last night, because they had no business being in this game. They're down 2-0 in the third against Colorado, who's obviously a really good team. They score 2 goals late-ish, go to overtime. They're guaranteed a point now, but they need 2 points. Like, the Flames desperately need points. Overtime, back and forth, puck sitting on the line, goes to a shootout. Okay, now your odds are decent to get 2 points, Calgary Flames. Calgary wins in a shootout, 3-2 over the Avs. The crazy thing, you guys aren't huge hockey fans. But
we follow it.
If I told you that the Colorado Avalanche were in the shootout and Nathan McKinnon nor Cale Makar shot in said shootout, that would be like an April Fool's joke, wouldn't it be?
Yeah. Definitely feels like you're pulling my leg there.
That was the case. No McKinnon, no Makar shooting in the shootout. They dissect this. Those coaches get paid a lot of money. It wouldn't even be Jared Bednar. It'd be like probably a coach that's his job. Okay, against Dan Vladar, who's got a good move, whose stats, yada yada. But I'm like, you got to put one of those guys in to shoot. Nonetheless, good news maybe for the Flames as they take it 3-2. Huge 2 points, but then they're on the bird last night into Utah because they take on Utah tonight. Utah's basically in next year country, although they're going to be a good team in a few years. And with that win, the Flames sit with 82 points. So they are 5 back of St. Louis with 2 games in hand. And they are 6 back of Minnesota with 2 games in hand. Canucks are still sitting there with 81. Utah's got 78. Maybe tonight's the last night for Utah. After tonight, it's just like, it's not happening. The Flames go back-to-back nights. They're in Utah tonight. Craziness last night in the NHL. Shifting over to other Canadian teams in action. Edmonton Oilers are in Las Vegas. Late game. The underdog plus 133. And then here could be the game to watch tonight. I'm going to try and stay up as long as I can. It could be bowl of popcorn night. Winnipeg in Los Angeles. Edmonton, all signs are pointing that Edmonton is going to play Los Angeles again in the first round of the playoffs. Edmonton fans, I don't like that matchup for you this year. Something about it. I don't know. Oilers have two of the two best players in the world. I get that. My eyeballs say that as well. But Los Angeles is a good hockey team this year. They're playing good at home. They're at home tonight against Winnipeg. That will be a good watch. If we did have a game of the night, that would be the one to watch. Ottawa is home to the Buffalo Sabres. Early one. Montreal welcomes the Florida Panthers. That's pretty much it for the Canadian teams tonight in the NHL. Western Hockey League. You can roll a ticker if you want to go, Colson. We can do that right now.
It's time for the SportsCage Sports Ticker.
Swift Current, 7 p.m. puck drop. Let's go. Broncos trying to pull one. They're down 2-0. Medicine Hat is in town. Prince Albert traveling to Edmonton. That series tied 1-1. In Saskatoon, I'd like to we should look up what Matt Young's usually pretty good on that. What kind of crowd are they expecting in Saskatoon tonight? I know a lot of people I know are going to check that one out. Hitmen up 2-0 on the Saskatoon Blades, 7 o'clock puck drop at Sask Place. Lethbridge up 2-0 in Brandon. Wasn't it Sharky that was his prediction as the upset? Brandon would knock off Lethbridge, which I thought was a little bit crazy.
That sounds about right. He was kind of thinking the same thing I was thinking. It's like every series probably going to go the way that's going to go, at least on the Eastern Conference on this side, minus the Hurricanes and Brandon. He's like, that's where upset's going to be pulled off, but probably not.
I think Lethbridge is a really deep hockey team. But Brandon, tonight, I know a lot of people listening on that Moosomin into that Verdun area, probably traveling to that game tonight. That's a good barn, too. All these Swift Current tonight would be pound for pound the game. If I could go to any game and watch, packed against Medicine Hat. Second, tight, close second, Sask Place and Brandon. I don't know what the crowd is at Sask Place. I'd have to check. And then way out west, Everett, Seattle, tied 1-1. Not a lot of people expected that. Shifts back to Seattle tonight. Victoria's up 2-0 on the Americans. Spokane without Andrew Cristall. We got to get an update. I didn't look at that. It's one thing, what his suspension is for that 5-minute major cross-check. If it was 1 or 2 games. Colson is efforting as we speak to check that out. Spokane is up 2-0 in that series against the Vancouver Giants. And Prince George and Portland tied 1-1. That one goes. Well, they were doing the 3-2-3, I think it was. What did John Keane say? Because there's so much traveling in that one. It'd be like the Regina playing a team from Salt Lake City. Game, well, that's a lot of traveling. SJHL, no games tonight because everything wrapped up last night. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to it. We had Cody Mapes, head coach of the Weyburn Red Wings, on. Weyburn disposes of the Battleford's North Stars 2-1 win. Angelo Zoll, 34 saves in that one. Red Wings now take on the Flin Flon Bombers because the Bombers shut out Humboldt last night 5-0. Series will start Friday. Then the other one, Yorkton, Melfort. First two will be in Melfort. They were the number 1 seed after the regular season. Then it'll shift to Yorkton. How about a massive shout out to the Foam Lake Flyers? Long Lake Hockey League champions again in overtime. They won a provincial banner. They had 3 overtime games. Goes into overtime again last night. Good job on the Drake Canucks. They haven't played hockey in 8 weeks. They come back into this one. Goes into overtime. Isaac Shocker wins it for the Foam Lake Flyers. Double banner season in Foam Lake. It was on Twitter. I don't think I tweeted it to the SportsCage. They did the old Zamboni ride. All the fellas last night. Probably at some point that's going to become illegal in this day and age. All the snowflakes out there. It's a good time. Balcarres started that a few years ago. Congratulations, everyone with Foam Lake. Everyone tied to the Foam Lake. Everyone tied to senior hockey. That was the last one. Last game of the year for senior hockey. I think the senior hockey report this Friday will have our last season-ending top 10, where we think everybody lasted or everybody ends up when it comes to that. So the hour gone by. Hour 2 will start with Ryan Pollock co-hosting with me, and we'll be joined by the pride of Melfort, Saskatchewan. Re-signed 2 more years with the Riders. Logan Ferland. Also in hour 2, Arash Madani, and the SJHL report with Benny Walchuk. If you're looking for local sports, you came to the right place. It's a SportsCage on 620 CKRM. Hour 2, April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day. You played any pranks? If you're still playing pranks, or if you live by the what my wife told me last night, education, I don't know. You only can do it until noon. Afternoon, you're the fool. I said in hour 2, hour 3, Ryan Pollock is going to be with me, co-hosting. What's your take on April Fools? Overrated? Do you kind of, with the kid, maybe when the kids are younger?
Yeah, when the kids are younger, there's a few things. My son actually got me with one really good, and we still were laughing about it last night in ahead of April Fools, if you will. But with social media and stuff, and I saw someone actually have this on social media with how messed up the world is. It's kind of taken away the joke. You open up social media and you're like, this might actually be true. So maybe a little bit overrated now, but it can be fun still if you grab someone.
We'll get into that a little bit more. But Western Pizza guest hotline. Western Pizza, all the Greek favorites you love and the generous amount of toppings. Get the pickup special on your way home. Why cook tonight? We're joined by Saskatchewan Roughrider, offensive lineman for 2 more years, Logan Ferland, made some time to hop on the SportsCage today. Logan, congratulations. Was there ever a doubt?
Thank you. Yeah, not an April Fool's joke, I'll say that. No, definitely not a doubt. I was very excited to sign, again, an extension throughout 2027.
How does it work? Is that your representation saying, "Hey, let's get this done"? Is the team saying, "Hey, what do you think? Can we get this done?"
Yeah, essentially that was something the team reached out to my agent, and just to see if I was interested in getting a deal done, getting a longer term deal done. So, of course, being a SAS guy, I think that's really what motivated them, and really what motivated me. Why would I want to go anywhere else? So we may as well make this a long-term deal.
Logan, Ryan Pollock here. Nice to chat with you again. Congrats on the extension, man. I know that's always a good thing to get out of the way and give you a little bit of relief from that side, and then know some direction moving forward. But obviously a long path still ahead for you in your career. But have you taken any time to really reflect on what got you here? I remember when I was around the building there, you were maybe a junior, possibly on the PR, and essentially working, I think, in construction all day, but still grinding it out and working out and getting yourself prepared and stronger with the goal of being a full-time player, and now here you are. So have you taken any opportunity to reflect on that journey a bit?
Yeah, crazy you mentioned that, because I remember that very, very well when I was working construction, and then, able to PR for the Riders around that time. And there was a lot going on, but definitely had some time to kind of reflect. Today was one of those moments. We had an interview with Jo, and and a few of the other riders members, and just talking about reflecting on my journey. He kind of laid out where I started, even going back to Kindersley when we lived there, even going back further when I was born in Saskatoon. So to be able to kind of do that interview in Saskatoon, where I am at the time, that was a special thing as well. So just laying out everything from my journey from there to Melfort, through my high school career, and then reflecting on the Regina Thunder. Really full circle moment, that allowed me, even while he was talking, just to really think back to those moments and appreciate everything that I've been through and all the people that have kind of helped me along the way.
When we had Darian on Monday, it's actually fitting. We didn't know that you were signing, but he talked about it. I asked him, what Sasky guys when you were playing were the local guys and the role models, and you got to watch them and how cool it was. And he just talked like these guys are such a role model. Two-part here, what does that make you feel like? And then what were your role models when you were growing up and watching the riders?
Yeah, that's amazing to hear that, because I think it is true, and it takes a little bit to realize that. When you are in schools talking to kids, or even when I go back home, realizing that you are looked up to a lot. And I really have to kind of step back. When I was a kid, looking up to those guys, I remember, not a SAS guy, but Xavier Fulton. I remember seeing that guy for the first time. And I think riders had came down for a hockey tournament or for a hockey game, when they won the Grey Cup, and they came down to Melfort. I believe brought the Grey Cup and everything, and very, very cool to see that, and see X out there, and that was just insane, seeing how big of a human he was and how much we all looked up to a guy like that. And then seeing obvious guys, Brendan Labatt, Dan Clark, very, very memorable moments in my life were watching those guys play, and then being able to play beside Dan Clark and learn a little bit from Brendan Labatt when I was PRing in his final year. So that was just very, very, again, full circle moment to watch those guys growing up, and then to be on the same field and share that time with them as well.
Logan, I wanted you to go back to those junior days when you were practicing with the team. Maybe just touch on the difficulties or the learnings that you had, specifically once Thunder season started, and you would come and practice, in the late morning, early afternoon with the riders, and maybe have your afternoon off before going to the evening practice there. So a massive dedication. Maybe just touch on how that schedule was, what motivated you to get through what I'm sure was challenging days at times, to be doubleheader like that and go and be expected to be a big leader with your own team as well.
Yeah, you know what? Going back to my carpentry days, working full time all day, getting up at 4 to get my pre-work lift in, and then going to practice and being there till 11. I thought that was a grind, and I kind of looked at the guys that were on PR, during those times when I wasn't. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a piece of cake, come time compared to my grind right now. And then I hit that moment, and I hit that PR year, and man, was that a whirlwind. I definitely was surprised by it, just the amount of reps I got as a junior kid playing there at the time. Obviously depends on depth chart and things like that, and how many guys are actually able to practice. At the time, I believe there's a decent amount of injuries. So I got a lot of scout team reps against really good players, against the starting players sometimes even. So just seeing that learning curve, and then not only physically, but mentally, the playbook, right? You got 2 playbooks now you got to memorize, completely different, not schemes necessarily, but just terminology I'm not used to, guys playing super fast, and just understanding things on a different level. That was the biggest things I remember. And then obviously a lot of the old line drills are similar. They go down to the junior level too. So doing the same drills I already did at, 11 or 12 o'clock that day. And my quads were dead. My glutes were dead. And then you're trying to go again that night and also be prepared for your game that you have on Friday or Saturday. So I just remember going through that grind and really really was a wake-up call, compared to just being a trades guy. And that in itself was very tough to do while I was playing junior. But, PR is a very close, is a little above that, I would say, for just the work that I required.
That's awesome. It shows the dedication and commitment you had to getting here today. So just taking half a step back, essentially you've spent some time, I don't know about all 5 positions, but you spent some time at tackle, guard, and now it looks like you're slotting in essentially full-time at center. You feel comfortable with that move moving forward, and maybe touch on the difficulty within game, as playing guard and getting slid into center, I think a couple of times potentially last year before you moved there full time. But is that a difficult move? You're ripping off gloves, you're getting ready to snap, all that stuff. Maybe just talk about what goes into a change like that.
Guard to center can be tricky for that reason. And not only that, but the week prior to, we're in meetings, the center's in control of that room. He's the one telling us how we're going to attack these guys right along with the coach. And with that comes studying as a center as well. So I not only had to study as a guard or a tackle, but understanding, okay, I could potentially be calling out our combos or whatever we're doing, making sure we're pointing the right guys. I need to do this as well, and just be right in there as mentally as the starting center. That's a very, very tough thing to do, especially when you have barely any center reps in practice. You're not used to snapping the ball and getting ahead of the line of scrimmage, especially if you're dealing with a 3 down front, you got a head up nose. It can be a tough block getting movement when you have to snap the ball versus being a guard. I just have my hand on the ground, so right away I can get into contact, not even have to think about what to do. So mentally, I'd say that's where it switches the most, going from guard to center. Physicality wise, you might, not that you're going to get a break, but you might get a little more help when you're playing center, right? So you're almost always in some kind of double team combo, or even in pass pro, you're very, very, very rarely you're isolated as a center. So as a guard moving to center, I would say physically it had its pros and cons, but mentally that was the biggest hurdle for sure.
Logan Ferland's joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. What was the main thing you learned from your NFL workout?
How fast things fly. It feels like you spend 3 days traveling, and by the time you get there, you might only do 15 minutes of workout. So first impression is everything. Really holding yourself to a high standard, being really respectful of their time and not wasting any reps. You can't afford to have one bad rep, and you never know what a guy's thinking. So you just have to put your best foot forward, and it's really all in the prep beforehand. Make sure you're prepared for every possible thing. You've no clue what workouts you're going to be doing, so reaching out to as many guys as possible to get a bit of a step ahead of the rest of the competition you might see.
Right on. So you're in Saskatoon, but when's the last time you were in Melfort?
Melfort was, that might be January. I'm going there here mid-April, so it'll be very soon when I'm back there.
I don't know if you've been following it, but their hockey team, Trevor Blevins, got an absolute wagon there. So it could be in the league final or close to when you get there.
There we go. Always cheering those boys on.
Logan, again, I know it was a busy day for you. Thanks for making some time. Congratulations, and looking forward to chatting again.
Thanks, guys. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Take care.
Right on. Sasky gentleman, Logan Ferland, re-upping.
Just re-upping. Great move by the Riders. Get proactive, get ahead of the curve. It's fantastic. It has this year still on what would be considered under contract, and then a 2-year extension. Great move by J.O. and the front office guys there to get ahead of that. What would be a very sought-after free agent if he made it there next offseason. Great job by them to get him locked up.
We will go to a quick break here and then come back. Clutch. Yes, right, Colson. That's right. Before we go to break, we got to get into our clutch performer for Nick's service in Emerald Park.
The SportsCage Clutch Performer for Nick's service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. Call 781-1077.
One today. because April Fools, I didn't trust these guys enough, so I was like, let's take it. We're going back to Foam Lake. Isaac Shocker last night wins the league championship in overtime in Game 5 for the Foam Lake Flyers. Double banner, a provincial banner, a league title banner. So Isaac Shocker, the clutch performer today for Nick Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fenton dealer. Call 781-1077. Now we go to break. When we come back, we got Arash Madani. It's a Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. Arash Madani, you're probably on hold there, waiting for us while we're talking to Logan Ferland. Nice move by the Riders front office, hey?
Absolutely. What I like most about it, and I think RP touched on it, is just how proactive they were on this. Look, like, you cannot find quality offensive linemen on either side of the border anywhere unless you are going to absolutely overpay for them. And that rarely happens because very few of them get to free agency, or you're able to draft them. And the fact that Logan was nowhere near free agency and you get ahead of that and you have him locked up and there's going to be continuity for a guy who can play multiple positions on your line, who gives you positional versatility and flexibility. Believe me, this is not hyperbole. I think it's one of the better moves of the O'Day regime. When you think about the moves they've made, this is such a smart, down the road, visionary extension. I really like what they did there.
That's what I was going to say. I'm waiting for where are all the pigeons that are always harping on the moves that they're making and what are they doing and all this? Hey, fantastic move here. Let's call a spade a spade. I don't know if this is a fantastic move, but it sounds like we have a commissioner that the owners, the board of governors, have their guy.
Yeah. I started hearing some rumblings about this late last month, and you just never know with these things because, look, what we know about the Board of Governors is just getting them to get to any kind of consensus on anything is the biggest challenge of all, let alone the one they're going to put in the big chair moving forward, which is probably why it's April and it's not officially a done deal yet. But I get we live in a streaming service world. And I get that a lot of leagues are moving towards Amazon and Netflix and, MLS with Apple TV and the rest. The CFL is not there quite yet. And as a domestic league without any U.S. Franchises, this is a broadcast deal and really a TV deal that's paramount for this league to get done. Because once it expires at the end of 26, the guy beside you, Barney, will tell you that money is the lifeblood of the league. The $5 million that each team gets, if they don't have that, there is no Canadian Football League. So to have Stuart Johnston, who understands and has been in the meetings with all of the teams, the league office, has intimate knowledge on how the league operates, how the teams operate, the financials, and then has been with Bell Media forever, so knows from a telecom standpoint, a broadcaster standpoint, what they're looking for, what the needs are, what the CRTC ramifications and all this are. This is the way to make sure that you're going to get yourself a deal. Because my biggest concern with the Canadian Football League's economic health was what's going to happen after 26 if there aren't interested parties at the table. Now, if Stu Johnston ends up becoming the commissioner, and all signs are pointing that he will, if that's going to end up happening, that is a major ally for the league to get a television deal that can have streaming components with it.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating for sure seeing that coming out and all those connections that you just alluded to there, Arash, for sure. And also, I'm not convinced that slicing up the pie makes that pie more valuable. I think the most value is in exclusivity. You want a broadcast partner that's going to be willing to talk about your league essentially on a daily basis, have all the broadcasts in the weekend, I'm in agreement that I don't think they're quite at a spot where they could give a game or two up to a streaming service and kind of lose that connection with your exclusive broadcaster. But interesting to have someone.
I don't think, though, Ryan, let me just stop you. I don't think there's a streaming service interested. And I don't think there's much of a pie out there anymore, right? Like, as we sit here in April of 2025, what other national broadcaster is willing to write that check right now and would have the appetite or desire to do it? I don't know if that exists. I really don't in today's kind of media ecosystem. So that's why this is a necessity. Look, you look around at the leagues that have streaming service deals. They are either they're US based with some Canadian franchises, a Canadian only league with 9 teams. I'm not sure that there's anywhere else that would have interest really in putting in the production necessary to do it.
I don't think, I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago when I was talking with the local guy. I don't think this deal, I think it might be the next one where that comes into play. But like Arash says, who's going to come to the table?
Right.
Like, is anybody even going to be at the dance with you? Like, you look at Crave. Well, it's owned by Bell. Like, what do we have for independence in this country? And is it going to get even less to maybe it is only one person? And yeah, our broadcast rules in this country are really weird. I don't even want to get started in that and what the CRTC forces.
Not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but just a little bit on how the sausage is made. It's not just the rights fees that benefits the CFL here. So yeah, each team, like, what is it, a $50 million a year, give or take. So each team gets $5 million. But understand that every single game that is broadcast, the cost of doing business for each of those games is around $75,000 to fire up a production truck, to get yourself a crew, to get yourself travel and staff and all those kinds of things. 75 grand a game, give or take, times around 100 games. That's a sizable check of the production of the game to put it on national television at a decent level. So, if you start farming that out, who has the appetite and the desire to spend the money to produce the games, then spend the money on the rights fees, especially if it's an unknown in terms of what your ROI is going to be. So I think that's an important part to kind of consider there.
For sure. Like, wearing two hats in this industry and learning both sides of the business, it would be fascinating to say, all right, let's open the books. How does this all make sense? Mm-hmm. Because the production, and you went $75K a game. I probably would have even went higher than that. Like, it is an undertaking.
Add in the spider cam, you can almost double that.
That's right.
Glen Suitor's pregame rituals.
Hey, one more, though, before we move off this topic, Arash. Do you think there's a chance, though, that Stewart comes in and flips kind of the conversation to say, we have to raise our level because this is what our broadcast partner expects? And here's maybe some shortcomings, for lack of a better word, that they've felt there is. So we need to fill this in order to create that value to continue the longevity of this partnership.
I tell you what, it's a great point, Ryan. Like, I think if Stuart Johnston kept to himself a notebook of all the blind spots over the last 15 years that can be improved upon, that notebook's probably pretty thick. And these are the different ways that we can improve this and that and this and that. Part of the issues, shortcomings, challenges, opportunities is that for a long time, things have kind of been just done the same way. And here's an opportunity to really change things up. And if you're giving somebody autonomy to do it, who better than somebody who has worked in the actual production industry. It's not the TV industry. It's not the broadcast industry. It's the production of content. It's the presentation of content. There could be a number of different strategies. With all due respect to the people who work in the league office, what do any of them know about the integration of gambling and pro sports? Nothing. Well, here you have now somebody who's been front and center with both the NFL and a gambling partner, a CFL situation, not to mention all the other pro sports leagues, and you take best practices from each with intimate knowledge of what these sports books want to do, for instance, and start implementing them. The social media strategies, what have they really been from the league office? Next to none. From a strategic standpoint, another opportunity, especially with gambling partners and sponsors, because that's what networks have had to do lately. So I think there are so many different opportunities when you look at this can be improved, this can be improved, this can be changed, this can be tweaked, this can be, sanding some of the edges and putting a coat of varnish on it that can really improve things. And they don't take much sometimes, but just a different way of thinking about it.
Awesome.
Well, this opens up our week, our Thursday conversation and all that. I'm just reading about Stuart Christopher Johnson, 54-year-old. Interesting career. Started as an intern at TSN. I love those stories.
Yeah.
Right? Started grinding like Logan Ferland, carpenter.
And I can confirm,
roster,
Barney,
junior.
Barney, I can now confirm that nobody reached out to me about I officially announced my candidacy for the position on this show, RP. I'm not sure if you're watching or listening that day, and nobody reached out.
Hey, this hasn't been ratified yet.
Yeah.
Hey,
but there you go.
Not yet. Maybe
until the ink is dry.
That's right.
Maybe it's an old-fashioned RE Gold bait and switch move.
Right.
It'll be fantastic. Okay, let's go NFL here. Owners are meeting. Owner meetings are happening. What are we going to see the elimination? And wasn't this Colson's call? But it was last year. We're going to see the elimination of the tush push.
You know what's amazing? The jealousy that goes on among pro sports GMs, coaches, and executives of teams. Like the Eagles have a move that nobody can stop. And so everyone's like, okay, we can't stop them, so let's make it illegal. Like the Bills tried it in the AFC Championship game and got stopped, right? Other teams have tried it, but the Eagles have mastered it, and they go on to win the Super Bowl. My question to you guys is if Philly had lost, I don't know, in the divisional playoff game, and they almost did to the Rams at home, if the Rams beat them, are we even having this conversation today at league meetings? Or is this a byproduct of Philly wins the Super Bowl, nobody can stop this play, and they haven't figured out how to coach him up to do it, so let's just make it illegal? I don't know.
There you go. Hey, another one of your favorite quarterbacks here. There doesn't seem to be many spots left open. Do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up with the Steelers?
I think so. Like it's like musical chairs, and the music ended about 2 hours ago, and he's just kind of still trying to get people's attention. Hey, I want to play. There's nowhere else. Art Rooney II basically came out today at the owners' meetings and suggested this is going to happen. But what I think is interesting here, Ryan, is outside of Kenny Pickett, who last year actually was the backup to Jalen Hurts and ran the tush push in Philly, outside of Kenny Pickett, the Steelers haven't been a team that really drafts quarterbacks in the first round. Part of it was because Roethlisberger was around forever, and he was a first-round pick. But this is a team that's, what do they invest in? Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker with their top picks. Rodgers feels like a stopgap move. Maybe it's a one-year situation, but I just think this is almost by necessity that I'm not sure either party wanted this to be the end result, but their hand kind of got forced in this situation.
If you're watching the stream, the whole role of Aaron Rodgers from last year completing passes is against the New England Patriots. The whole thing.
End highlight tape. Yeah.
Right.
It's okay. Yeah, we got it. Okay, baseball wise, hey, again, I'm a passive baseball, especially a Blue Jay fan. If anything, I'm more of a Red Stockings guy, but I was watching on the weekend, and then you were talking. Yeah, you were talking Matt Scherzer, right? Gonna have a Blue Jay starting rotation, gonna be their strength. Max Scherzer goes out, and then I'm like, what's his finger? And then it's tied to his lat, and now he's out, and I'm just like, come on, is this a real story?
So you bring a 40-something-year-old pitcher who had a thumb issue.
He looks old too, by the way. Like Max looks like he's there's a lot of heavy miles.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Max has become Wrinkled Max. Is that what you're saying? So, like, let's not go too far down the rabbit hole, none of us are doctors, right? But if you're a pitcher, do you think it's important that you're able to grip the baseball? Do you think that might be an important part? Like, do you think your thumb might have something to do with it? And he had a thumb issue last year. If you're watching the stream, you see his frustration. Here's a guy who he's just like, really? And when you start compensating because of the thumb, you change your mechanic altogether. And so the rest of the body starts to become a factor. And then his lat became an issue. So he's gone to see a hand specialist. He's either going to get or has gotten a cortisone shot in that thumb. And they're hoping that later this week he might be able to throw flat ground, and then who knows from there. But guys, stuff like this, when you're the age that Scherzer is, you just get this sense that it's going to be a lingering issue. And somebody asked him, one of the media members today asked him, is surgery even a thing? Because you have to think if there's surgery for this, that might be it for the season. He said it was talked about, but we're not even there yet. You just get the sense that that's $15.5 million that they had hoped was going to lead to something. And that's more than an ominous first start. That all signs are kind of pointing to this is going to be a problem all year long.
When you said he went to a hand specialist, I right away thought the Seinfeld episode of The Hand Model. I don't know why that has to come into my brain. What is with the bats in New York? What are the torpedo bats?
The torpedo bats. For those who haven't seen them, a hitter always says you got to get the barrel on the ball. That's where the power comes from.
Looks like a slow pitch bat if you squint.
Yeah. Kind of is, and it's almost like a bowling pin at the top of the bat. But this is another part that's interesting that nobody's really talked about. I was listening to Chad Mottola, the longtime Tampa Bay Rays hitting coach. He actually said that where your hands are is actually going to be a lot lighter. And so that gives you more control of the barrel of the bat on top of the power that you're going to get. And they have 6 different models, the Rays do, of this bat, and they're trying to figure things out. But guys, I get we live in a copycat world when it comes to sports. The kind of inventor of this bat was a Yankees coach last year who came from MIT. He's a physics major. He was putting physics together to say, okay, how can we expand the barrel of the bat from a size standpoint, since that's where all the power comes from? Our baseball teams, 15 years ago, started bringing finance people and economists in for their analytics. Is the next move going to the space? And I'm not even joking. Are they going to go to the space program and bring a bunch of people in and say, okay, what else can we do to find any kind of edge? What other, physics people are we going to bring in to do something like this?
Can we fix a thumb? How about that? How quick can we fix a thumb, which in turn fixes a lat, apparently? No, it was really, when I didn't know that he was from MIT. How did Boston let him get out of town with this information? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and he's now with the Marlins. So If he can fix the Marlins, then
He's like,
that's
then we're on
being
the
a
same.
Maybe he's like the monorail salesman, just going from town to town. Next up, Shelbyville. All right, let's go Thursday. Find out as much as you can on our boy Stewart, and let's see where this lands.
Finally, April. It appears like training camp start next month.
Keep your phone on. They could never say never.
Maybe he doesn't like The Office.
Just say,
You
just got to work.
Hey, I'll be his right hand man, RP.
Perfect.
And we'll bring you in to help out with football ops. We can
Sounds
make it all
good.
happen. All right.
Perfect. All right. See you, Arash.
See you, Arash.
See you guys.
Coast to coast, Arash Madani for Brian Gawley. Smart investing solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley. Let's go. We got SJHL report coming up after the break. It is the Sports Cage on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughrider, 620 CKRM. Hey, you can go and visit them. They're blowing out the 2024s at the new King of Trucks in Southeast Saskatchewan. Worth the drive every time. I know it's the SJHL report, but let's start with your boys, Foam Lake. Double banner season. It's special for that community.
It is. Yeah, it's been a long couple of weeks for the old Foam Lake Flyers. 1 o'clock in the morning, I seen they tweeted that they're on the Zamboni, just like the Belcaris Bronx did a few years ago. So it's a long night. It was a long, maybe a long week or so here for the Foam Lake Flyers. But yeah, they had a battle against Drake. Drake got it up 6-5, and then another late goal from Foam Lake, and then a big overtime winner by expat Isaac Shocker. So big win for the Flyers.
Yeah, I know. It's cool. We talked about it earlier in the show. It's like this whole Zamboni driving thing. It's tradition now. It's cool, but someone's going to just send in a video, and then it's going to get canceled culture. Sask Hockey's going to come out with some sort of release. Kelly McClintock will be on the show talking about it. Unfortunate. So, yeah, don't send your pictures in, please. Let the boys be country, as Jason Aldean said. Okay, we're into the semis. We got 2 teams left. I had Rory on from McGorran from Humboldt yesterday. We talked about that. He said, we're up against a good squad. They couldn't pull it out the Elgar last night. Flin Flon takes it 5-0, and then Weyburn dumps the Battlefords. So we got Melfort, Yorkton, Flin Flon, Weyburn. Let's start first off Flin Flon, Weyburn. We talked to Cody Mapes in hour 1. What's your take on that series, Benny?
A lot of traveling for sure. I think over 800 kilometers between those two buildings. But this is the first time Weyburn's been in the second round since 2015. So it's a year. I know Cody's been there for about 4 or 5 years now. He's trying to develop this roster, and they were close to getting to round 2 last year. Came up short, but this is kind of the team he's kind of built together. They're getting goaltending right now from Angelo Zoll, who's outstanding in game number 6. It's gonna be a battle of goaltenders, I think, with him and Matthew Keeper, the SJHL MVP from the regular season, and the top goaltender as well. So the former Pat. But I think it's going to be a battle to see who can score on the power play. And special teams have been important. I think Weyburn's got a little bit more firepower, but I think that Flin Flon has a lot more depth. So it's going to be, if Weyburn can sneak one up there at the Whitney Forum in game 1 or 2, I think they definitely have a very good chance to win the series. But I think this could be one of those homer series that might go the distance.
Friday, the other one starts as well. I'm sure you'll be calling that one.
Yeah.
Yorkton in Melfort. What do the Terriers have to do to try and win this series against the number 1 ranked Mustangs?
First, they have to get good goaltending like they did in the last 3 or 4 games from Callum Craig in that series against Melville. If it wasn't for Callum Craig, we'd probably be talking about a game 7 tonight in Yorkton. He was just that outstanding last 3 games. So then you have to stay disciplined. Melford's power play, actually both power plays have been good this season, the top 2 power plays from the regular season. But this is a team, they have to stay disciplined. There's a young Terrier defense that's going up against a very experienced forward unit for the Melford Mustangs. So it's one of those things Terriers have to, I think it's one of those games. If Terriers can maybe put this into a little bit of a track. I know you don't see it much in the playoffs, but if it's a high-scoring series, I think the Terriers might have a chance. But if it gets to that grinding, low-scoring series, I think Melfort just can get that early lead and kind of grind their way out. But if the Terriers can find some offense from those top guys who've been outstanding, I think they have a chance in the series. But they have to, like you said with Weyburn, they have to sneak one there in Melfort to win a series, maybe even 2 to have a chance in that matchup. But it's an intriguing matchup. We talked about it. Last year was a big trade. Clay Sleva, the Terrier captain, went to Melfort, helped them win a league title, and now 3 members of that trade that went back to Yorkton or can be competing in the series. David Coyle, who was one of the leading scorers in the SJHL playoff race. You got Thomas Reese, who's the Rookie of the Year finalist, and then Cale Johnson, AP, and a highly regarded prospect for the Terriers who might AP as well. So it's a very intriguing series and a lot of storylines going in.
I'm not as in depth on SJHL information as I was in the past, but I know when I played in it a couple of years ago, we'll say, we used to just have the north-south. So when I see the Final Four, it's interesting matchups, right? Because when back in the day, it would have been Melfort, Flin Flon, and then Yorkton and Weyburn playing as off in north-south. So
LeBret would have been in the mix.
Yeah, LeBret probably.
Yeah.
It was an upset if they weren't, right? That dates me right there. So when I went through the league, but I don't know if there's a great question here. I find it interesting because is there that following or excitement being built with the teams being so far apart? Now on the flip side, there could be an opportunity for a league final to be Melfort Flin Flon or Yorkton versus Weyburn, which would be hysteria. So an interesting Final Four. Benny, what do you just get for your overall feeling of how these series are going to be followed and the intensity around them?
Yeah, I think the Yorkton Melfort series, I think they're going to be traveling both ways. I know it's maybe just under a 3-hour drive and the weather should be pretty nice. So I think there's going to be a good contingent. I think Terriers are going to have a fan bus headed there for both nights, Friday, Saturday. And even during the week, Melfort's got a good traveling of fans. They have a lot of local guys from the Wadena, the Regina, the middle of Saskatchewan area. So I think there'll be lots of support from the Mustangs. The other side, Flin Flon fans, they do travel well. I know it's going to be a midweek games in Weyburn, but I think they might bring a fan bus or even a couple of vans down from Flin Flon, and they travel on. So do the Weyburn Red Wings. So it's an interesting time, but I think it is going to be, I don't know, the distances between Weyburn and Flin Flon in particular is long, but I think there's still going to be some good contingent because Flin Flon fans, they played Estevan 2 or 3 years in the playoffs and the semifinals and the final, and that they have a lot of Flin Flon fans make the trip down, and Estevan's even further down south than Weyburn. So I think it's still going to be a good support from each communities.
You never forget a trip to Flin Flon, I'll tell you that.
No. Never mind the truck. Colson, Curtis, you guys are going in these vans. Back to Flin Flon. I'll get them to pick you up right here at 12th and Rose, and there you go. And Benny, hey, you'd be stupid not to tell those Yorkton Terrier fans take your trunks and a towel if you're going to the Northern Lights Palace. Get in a pregame soak in the hot tub, maybe a water slide. Stupid not to.
Exactly. I always look there. They have a great canteen there in Melfort as well. So I always go there, get a hot chocolate or something before the game, and see everybody ripping around the pool. So it's a great place up there.
I was texting back and forth with Trevor Blevins because his brother is the outgoing president of the Prairie Junior Hockey League. We're gonna have on the show here, and he was just talking about he's the uglier one. And I said, well, who's the tougher one? And he goes, well, me now, but he was 7 years older. Blevs is a beauty. Cool. Well, I will be obviously following this really closely. So your predictions, I think I know where your predictions would land in this, but who's playing in the final? You got to give us a Southie Mainline Chrysler prediction.
Yeah, well, I think my heart says Yorkton, of course, because I'm still following along with them. It'd be nice to have them in the final and just have that community once again pumping. It's a great crowd to support for between Malvern and Yorkton. They're outstanding. 50-50 is almost $11,000 each game to the winner. So it'd be nice to have a final. I was going to go Terriers in 7 with the Heart. It's going to be a tough task for the Terriers, but if there's a team that beat them, this Yorkton Terrier team has battled adversity all season, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Weyburn upsetting the Flin Flon Bombers. So I think goaltending is going to come down. I think Angelo's Zol's going to steal the way to the series. I know it's going to be tough up there at the Whitney Forum. But before we go, Barney, we better wish the commissioner a happy birthday today. Yeah, no fool, it's Kyle McIntyre. So I don't know how much he's turning, but maybe 65, 70. But happy birthday to the SJHL commissioner today.
Oh, he's definitely not that old. So I don't want him. I don't want him strangling me next time from behind. Next time, he played in like the tough Swift Current.
Oh boy,
with some of those guys. He's got some stories.
Yorkton, yeah.
Oh yeah, those are that was man's hockey back then, right? Yeah. No, happy birthday to the commish, Kyle McIntyre. Okay, well, you have a nice. Little bit of a week, a little bit of a break here, Benny, before you start getting on the bus and calling those games. We might have to bring you in for impromptu SJ report at some point, too.
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you, Ryan. Thanks, Barney.
Right on. Benny Walchuk. He, like you said, he's going to be calling the Yorkton Terriers Melfort Mustang series on our sister station, GX, in Yorkton. Oh, yeah. See, Yorkton in 7 with his heart.
I like it. 7? Anytime you can go to a 7th game, that's That's fantastic for fans. That last game, ooh, look out.
And then Weyburn over Flin Flon. Yeah, that's a lot of miles for Cody Mapes, who we had, like I said, we had on in hour one. And that drive, you know what Mapes talked about in hour one? You can go back and listen to it in podcast form at any time on any of our platforms. You can watch the video. And you know this too, right? When you play hockey, I saw it in the Bantam AA level this year. Even saw it with the females. You get to the intensity of playoffs, and some of the young kids, you go back to your coaching days, the young kids, a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever that series is, they will grow more than they will in 4 months of regular season.
Oh yeah, there's no escaping it. Every day you got to be at your highest level, and even those things like the travel, playing on the road, those adjustments, meals, sleeping, making sure you're prepared to get at it again the next day. That's
systems.
It makes you mature in a quick hurry. Systems. You know, you practice something all week and play game one, and they do something completely different than they've done all year, and you're waking up the morning of game two as a coach. You're preparing video and you're presenting it to the team, saying everything not everything. I'm exaggerating, but everything we talked about all week, hey, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Here's our new game plan, and you've got to be able to go out and execute it. So, and those things in reality might be adjusting your power play or adjusting your penalty kill or how you were to forecheck. You know, all details that you need to go and execute then as a young guy.
I love that about football too, where it's like, okay, hey, we're scrapping this part of the game plan. We're going here. Yeah, no, so it'll be exciting. Quick little sports ticker. What's going on around the area tonight? Obviously, no SJHL, but WHL picks up in Swift Current. If you're going to that one, Swift Current down 2-0 to the Medicine Hat Tigers. Should be a good one tonight at the Innovation iPlex in Swift. Prince Albert's in Edmonton. The series is tied 1-1 up in Saskatoon at Sask Place. The Hitmen coming in with a 2-0 series lead there. And in Brandon, the Lethbridge Hurricanes are visiting the Wheat Kings with a 2-0 series lead. Following the dub playoffs at all?
Don't sleep on that Seattle-Everett series.
Yeah, 1-1.
Seattle on the trade deadline. Seattle was in third last place. We were talking about them in the lottery. They go on an absolute heater after the trade deadline and play their way into the playoffs and have been one of the hottest teams in the league since that time. So
I would go pound for pound in the last 15-ish years. Seattle could be one of the best franchises in the Western Hockey League.
Yeah, I mean,
Cal Filson effect.
Yeah, there's something because I don't have the years right in front of me, but they won a league title, came back, played the Pats in 2018, won it there, went to the bottom, and then we're back in the league final like 2 or 3 years later. So
Cal Filson just texted me, "Go Birds!" even before I said that.
There you go.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. What's going on there? Victoria's up 2-0 on Tri-City. They continue. Spokane 2-0. Did you figure out, Cristal, the suspension, Coulson? We didn't know.
I thought I saw one game. There was a handful of guys, or 3 or 4 guys, that each got one game throughout the weekend.
Okay.
That were suspended for one game. Don't quote me on that if I'm wrong.
And then PG and Portland back at it, tied 1-1. That is another hour completed here on the Sports Cage. We'll start hour 3 with Glen Suitor, Ryan Pollock. The C's are here. It's the Sports Cage. What's that? One game.
WHL
Now you can quote me on that.
To quote Ryan, 1 game. Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. It's been it's been a busy one. There's been a lot going through the show today. You can go back and listen to it any of it in podcast form. Cody Mapes, head coach of the Weyburn Red Wings, joined us in hour 1. Jeff Stoughton, former Canadian curling champion, 11 times at the Brier, won it 3 times. He was in hour 1. We're going to rerun that here in hour 2. Great interview with the legend Jeff Stoughton. Arash Madani, Logan Ferland from the Saskatchewan Roughriders in hour 2. So that was really good. We'll have that in podcast form as well. And then here in hour 3, we'll be with Glen Suitor momentarily. Also, you might want to throw a monkey wrench to Nick in promo, Coulson. In the next hour, we're going to give away 4 tickets to Friday's Saskatchewan Rush versus Calgary Roughnecks.
Nice.
Big game. Saskatoon. There'll be over 10,000 people. And Friday night, Saskatoon, roll into town. Maybe, if you want, sleep over. See what the room rates are like. Saskatoon, downtown.
You don't got to convince me. My whole family's going. My nephew works for the Rush, so he's in town and in Saskatoon. So my family's heading up there to check in the game and spend some time with the kid. Awesome atmosphere. So yeah, we'll give away those. 936-6262, the Prairie Land Rentals text line, 600 Albert Street. Since 1986, a place where you can go and you deal with the owner, whether it's rentals or sales for a big job, small job. Prairie Land Rentals. Again, 936-6262. Text in and tell Colson why you want to go to a lacrosse game. And this is not an April Fool's joke. That'd be a real cheesy, it'd be a brutal April Fool's joke. No, we got 4 tickets to the Rush games. And my wife says you can't do April Fool's jokes afternoon. I don't follow that rule. She might be in for a world of hurt tonight. I'm going to April Fool's joke. What's the consequence?
With her?
Well, no. Hey, no. I'm just speaking in general.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's... there was one that I was talking to the boys in hour 1. Chocolate-covered strawberry lookalikes, but there's chocolate-covered Brussels sprouts. That's a dirty pool.
That's dirty pool.
I'm curious to hear what Glen Suitor has to think about April Fools. Let's go talk to him.
Time now for press coverage with CFL and Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Glen Suitor on the Sports Cage. Brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. 781-2090.
Probably a good one for you, Glenn, would be go upstairs and tell your wife you just landed a part-time job back at the Cayman Islands in that scuba diving camp.
And I'm taking the dog with me. Hey, Ryan, how are you? It's good to see you. And Barney, I was listening in, and when you guys were talking about the, you're not playing by the rules with April Fools. So you're going to just go after 12. I love that. I'm a big. We both don't really believe in Valentine's Day, if I remember correctly. I mean, the mandatory flowers and chocolates and stuff. I mean, you can do that anytime you want. You don't have to do it on one particular day. Yeah. So yeah, let's just do our own thing, man. I'm all in. I love it.
Hey, were you not part of a epic April Fool's joke between you and Ridgway way back in the day? On an unsaid radio station?
Well, I don't remember April Fools, but I do know I was taped to the goalpost at the Grey Cup in '89 because we were a couple of days before it was my birthday, a couple of days before the big game against Hamilton. So that happened. And I do know that Dave and I constantly messed with the offensive line. And I say Dave and I, but it was really mostly me. And I'll give you one quick one that I did to Roger Aldag and Bob Pulley. It's one of my favorites. I sat beside him, or in between the two of them on flights to away games. So, I'm in the middle between two offensive linemen that are poking me and putting their finger in my ear and all this stuff, not letting me sleep. So I thought, I'm going to get these guys. They always would play crib. And if you know crib, if you know crib, you know that the fives are important in crib. So they were getting busy. They put their cards on my table in the middle and the crib board, and they were putting their bags away. I took the deck, took all the fives out of the deck and put it back. Before they noticed, we flew from Regina to Toronto to play the Argos on the road. They played the whole time without the fives in a crib game. So I wake up, I get up off the plane. I make sure I have some distance. You got to get off the plane or else they could have caught me pretty easily. I get some distance and I pull out of my pocket the 4 fives and I say, hey guys, you kept mentioning that you were never getting a hand, and I just wondered if you needed these. And I dropped them and took off. And they couldn't catch me.
That's awesome.
So, April Fool. I used to mess with the O-lineman big time.
I like that one. That's a good story. Hey, commissioner, possibly, eh? Yeah. Not you. You told us the truth. It's not Glen Suitor.
No, it is not. And I can't confirm or deny. And I listened in to you guys talking about it and the speculation. But I can say that I know Stu very well, Stuart Johnson. And
does he go with Stu or Stuart? Like if I talk to him, what are we going with?
I would think Stuart. That's what I've called him, but he's a few floors above my status there at Bell Media. But I've always just called him Stuart. But again, a guy is a great choice. And I don't want to make the comparison because I hate when we always make comparisons. But if I look at the biggest or most important influential commissioners in the National Football League's history, it would probably go back to Pete Rozelle. And when I've heard, you could make this a drinking game when I say the word messaging, and somebody should do this one time when we're doing our thing here, and I say the word messaging, take a drink. You'll have a good night. Because I think it's so important. And Pete Rozelle knew that. He was the guy who was part of creating Monday Night Football and having a prime time weekday football game. They started out with the idea that it should be on Friday nights, but didn't want to mess with high school ball. So at that time in the 60s, they decided that Monday night was the night. And I don't know how, I don't know if he invented it, but he was part of the beginning of Monday Night Football and created the competition for expansion with cities in the NFL, bringing the American League in with the National Football League, and was influential. Key for Rozelle was messaging. And I'm not saying that if it's Stuart Johnson that he is going to turn the CFL into a 31-team league, and we just don't have the population.
31. Mooseman, you're getting a team.
Yeah. We don't have the city size. We don't have the population. That's just not. That's why I hate making the comparison. But just from a messaging and presentation point of view, there's the drinking game. Just from that point of view, I think Stuart Johnson would be excellent. He's been a great leader of our group. Always there if you want to talk to him about anything. Listens, is not one of those guys in charge that is sort of letting you talk and then walking away without listening. That's not Stuart. I think he'd be excellent.
And I like the one thing, obviously, and you could put this in any profession, any big corporation where somebody's moving, to something that is somewhat tied to it. He's going to know. Like I think Arash called it the holes. He's gonna know the problem, the pain points, to be like, all right, we gotta fix this, and we gotta fix this, right? He'll have a little bit of the and I use this a lot too. You can ding it if you want. In the inside baseball on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Would understand by working through it over the last 20 years the best way to present. The best way to present this fantastic game. That's the thing about when we talk about the CFL. It's not necessarily this discussion on what needs to be fixed. I've said for years that the game itself doesn't need to be fixed. How we present it and things like that are always a work in progress and something that we can always improve on for sure. But Stuart Johnson would understand some of the holes. He would understand what should be prioritized and what shouldn't. But the key for him, get the bell ready, is going to be how you present, how you message, because that's built. There it is.
There was the bell. Hey, you know what stands out for me, Suits, as well, is it's a reflection of how people at TSN feel about the CFL. This isn't people that are just going to work every day, punching the clock, and here on the big whiteboard, we got to cover the CFL. We have, if this is comes to fruition. We have a guy in a very successful spot with the broadcast partner moving across. There was a guy like Paul Graham years ago that was in on potential president's jobs and wanted to be a part of the league as well. Yourself, your passion shows through on a weekly basis for the league. You have Farhan working as well that shows his knowledge and passion for the league. These aren't people, like I say, just punching the clock and leaving at 5 o'clock and forgetting about their work. It's they're passionate about it. They want to see the league succeed and be put in the best light.
Yeah, and you guys had a great conversation with Arash that I listened in on, and I will say, Barney, that your estimation of the production value and the production costs it's closer to what you were thinking. It's much higher than what Arash thought, and then you have to add in salaries and everything else for TSN. So they, and I want to correct one thing, or just sort of the thought that there will be possibly no one interested down the road in televising these games. I can tell you TSN wants the rights back for sure. They're going to battle back for them. Stuart Johnson, if it is him, Stuart Johnson understands the value better than anybody of the CFL and what it brings. And when you're averaging over 500,000 a game in viewership across this country, you can put that up against any show that is on TV. You really can. And it's still, to me, underutilized product. Really, I mean, it's potential within our own country is still not realized. So I think this is the expertise that he can bring to the table.
I'm really curious, and nothing's come out official, but obviously it seems like this is going to be really curious on his stance on gambling, right? Because being where he, they don't have the NHL routes, they have the NHL rights geographically in some of the areas, but he would know the NFL situation and all that, and where gambling goes with the CFL in that, because I think that's going to be a huge revenue line for the league, Glenn.
Yeah, and it's actually part of the increase in ratings that we're seeing over the last couple of years. I'd love to say it's the play-by-play and color guy that are bringing the ratings up, but I'm not going to say that. I will say, though, that I think it is partly due to gambling, and let's be honest about gambling. It is that genie's out of the bottle now, and it's never going back in. So this idea that maybe there's the damaging end of it and that it had to be changed or altered, that's not happening. It's going, and yes, there'll be ways to take care of people that maybe abuse it. But the bottom line is it's happening, it's going forward, and now how do you best utilize it? And you're right about Stu Johnson's expertise. There's a guy who has been dealt with it in the TV aspect. He's dealt with it in how much we put on the air and how much we're not supposed to. We've wanted to slow play that almost as far as on-air talent to go and make sure we're doing it when it comes to gambling and presenting it that way, but making sure that people know what are the safe sites, the best way to do it, and the warning signs to not abuse it as well. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a huge part of it, a huge part of the growth. And the number one sport that people gamble on is football, whether it's the NFL, college ball, or the Canadian Football League. It's football.
Not in Europe. Soccer. I saw the soccer numbers once.
Football.
Oh, mama. Like, it makes what we're doing over here minuscule because it's such an international game, and basketball is there as well, but the soccer revenue so that's where these companies are coming at it and saying, all right, what kind of deal can we work out here? At the end of the day, if they got anything going on where you just were across the pond, that's where the bread is really buttered over there. But gambling's not going anywhere. It is what it is, and run the commercials for people that if they need a hand or need help. And then I think as a parent, a lot of that falls on me, right? My kids see me sprinkling, at night.
Yeah.
But they know it's just, it's not much and all that. As a parent, I have to explain to them as they get older here, okay, well, this isn't like your life or this isn't your job. Like this is kind of a form of entertainment, and then you shut it off at that point. So there's like a lot of things in life. I think it's like we've got to parent better.
Parent better. I couldn't agree more, and hold people responsible too for their decisions. I mean, that's the one thing I noticed being over in Europe, that they don't overgovern what we do here, and try to put guardrails up at every pathway to the castle. Like, you have to be responsible for your decisions. And yes, there can be addictions that take you down a bad path and you need help getting out. And I strongly recommend that anyone's feeling that, make a call to somebody you know and trust and get yourself out of that. But we do have to do more of that. And the one thing I would ask you though, Barney, about, I agree with you about soccer. I mean, soccer in Europe, I was in Newcastle when they won one of the cups. I think every game in Europe in a soccer stadium is a cup game, apparently. But this was a bigger cup game of some kind. And just being in a bar in Newcastle when they won against Liverpool, like it. So the gambling there, I just wonder what's the bet in soccer for goals? Like, is it +1 every time or 1.5?
What do you want me to go? Do you want me to go look right now? I got nothing better to do.
What would it be?
Let's go to the Premier League. I'll give you some lines here, Glenn. Like if you want to sprinkle on Manchester City. Well, yeah, they got the over under 3.5. So
3.5 goals.
There's an over under Southampton versus the Crystal Palace squad. The over under is 2.5. So that's going to be a defensive affair. I don't know. Next time you're in Stoughton, let's sit down. Let's sprinkle on some soccer, and we'll go to one of the English pubs in town, crush a bunch of pints. We have no idea what we're doing. We'll have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm in.
Before I let you go,
yeah,
let's shift to the end. If you were listening to us talk about Arash on the tush push, because I know you were talking about that earlier. Should they change that rule in the NFL, or should teams just have to be forced to figure out a way to stop it? Because it seems like there's only really one team that has figured out how to capitalize on it 99% of the time. And as for such a copycat league, it's like, how can no one else figure it out?
Yeah, no, I don't think they should swing the pendulum so far that they take it out. I mean, someone has found a strategy that works well for their personnel and now figure out a way to stop it. I would watch it carefully, because to me it's a boring play. It's like if it becomes too commonplace, then maybe there's something they might have to do down the road. But this idea that when something happens in one season or 2 seasons even, that we need to completely change rules is it's crazy. It's swinging the pendulum too far.
I have an idea. Like, we're running the videos on the stream. Just came to me. The only one guy can be behind, and he has to be under a certain weight.
So you have to do a weigh-in before every game.
No, you'd have a designated guy. Like when you played ice hockey in Nintendo back in the day,
designated
skinny guy
pusher.
He can be the only guy back there.
Well, there is a rule, I believe it's still in the CFL, that you can't push a ball carrier from behind,
right? Because
it's dangerous. So, there's that thought too, that you can't just carry a ball carrier in. But I hate the play. To be honest, full disclosure, it's kind of like, to me, in the NFL, the punting in the NFL where they touch the ball down. That to me is one of the worst plays in sports.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the way that their game is basically all the rules and the field size and everything, they need that. So I understand the purpose of it. I just think it's a boring play.
I'd like to ask Stuart if he could change the Rouge where it can't decide a game. Somehow, some way. You can't be lining up on someone's 15-yard line and punt it onto the train tracks and you win the game.
So what's the difference if you get a Rouge in the first quarter and win by 1?
You have a chance to now get points back, to play the game.
I think there's an opportunity to fix the Rouge if we're going down that segment, but
that's the next time. That's the next time. Okay, I lied. Before we let you go, what a move by Jeremy O'Day and the front office with the Riders locking in Logan Ferland for 2 more years. He wasn't due. He had this year in the till, but now they got him for another 2. And like Ryan said at the beginning, like he was going to be a sought after free agent if he was going to the market.
Yeah, great signing by the team, without a question. We can just say one of the top linemen, if not the top lineman in the league. We could stop there and say signing a guy like that to an extension is, obviously going to help your team in the big picture. So what I love some more about, first of all, I listened to the interview with Logan, and offensive linemen get a bad rap. I mean, that's a well-spoken young man right there. And most of them are, really. And we should have them on more because most of those old linemen are really well-spoken, smart guys. And he plays multiple positions. I love that he came up through the junior leagues. Yeah. And it just gives hope to every one of those kids that are out there that maybe aren't playing college ball or down south playing college, but can still get on a pro roster if that's their dream. So I love that part of his story. Well-spoken guy. Congratulations to him, and a great signing for the team.
It is press coverage with Glen Suitor for Bronco Plumbing and Heating. The professionals, they'll treat you right. He's on the program. You can tell he listens to the program, and just a great guy, and I can't wait for some messaging on Thursday. Glen.
Messaging. Correct messaging. There's 2 more.
Talk to you Thursday, buddy. See you later.
It's
always fun. Let's go to break right now. It's the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and X and on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Welcome back, Sports Cage. Saskatchewan Lotteries, main fundraiser for sport, culture, and recreation in our great province. Ryan Pollock, the C's with me. Just want to give a shout out. The Stars Critical Care on the Air Radiothon started today, continues into tomorrow. We're going to have it on the airwaves here. The Regina Volunteers are at the Southland Mall in the spot right by the food court until 5:30. Well, so that's kind of hooped. It's 5:33. Sorry about that. But there's a phone number you can call, 1-877-507-8277. Keep it tuned into CKRM tomorrow. Support Stars. They do a great job. And I'm sure they'll be set up at the mall by the food court. It's your neck of the woods, isn't it? That food court always, what I get sucked into when I go to that food court? Popcorn. From the theater.
Yep. Any food court I just get sucked in is taco time. People talk about that all the time. So lucky to have as many taco times in the city as we can. Canadian company, too. Yep. And now there's a darn good chance Western Pizza might be a taco time night. Like that hot sauce. They kind of limit it because they know people just take it to survive the week.
You can buy the jars of it.
Yeah.
What's your go-to there?
I like the actually I've started to go to just the beef and cheese with a little sour cream on it. Really good. But Supreme beef is always good too.
The Mexi Fries Deluxe.
Yeah, that's good. That's the side, right? You need to hold on to the burrito in one hand and then pick away at the Mexi Fries.
You have to be hungry driving home now
and not have anything planned after either.
It's kind of firing up here. While we got time, let's talk about the Regina Pat Canadians. And people are like, what happened to the Patsies? Okay, well, they're on the bus as we speak right now. Mm-hmm. They're going to Kenora, Ontario, which is it's somewhat just over the border into Ontario from Manitoba. 8-hour-ish bus ride. They'll take on the host team, the Kenora Thistles.
Thistles, yeah.
The Thunder Bay Wagoneers. I don't know what they're called. they weren't a Wagoneer this year.
No.
And the Winnipeg Wild.
I think they're the Kings, Thunder Bay Kings, and the Winnipeg Wild.
So there's 4 teams. Patsy's first game Thursday afternoon against the Winnipeg Wild, which we're going to get into this more tomorrow. I got some guys coming on that cover a lot of the AAA loop. Winnipeg is supposed to be a good squad. Mm-hmm. What do you know about this tournament?
Yeah, it'll, on paper, it's a Regina, Winnipeg kind of favorites, if you will. They're the 2 league champions coming in. The other 2 teams kind of got in through qualifiers, if you will, and as the host, never to take someone necessarily lightly, but on paper and looking at records and how they kind of both arrived, it would be a Regina and Winnipeg favorites. So that's kind of been the case over the last couple of years as well. The Saskatchewan winner and the Manitoba winner seem to be the 2 stronger teams, but in a short tournament with travel and all those extra things added into it, you got to be prepared to play all 3 round robin games and earn your way to that final on Sunday. So
what a series against Moose Jaw. Now I know they swept them. Moose does good hockey, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I follow it very closely. I like a lot of people did in the city, but it kind of gets overlooked that Moose Jaw, up until this game, the final game, they had gone 9 straight games of allowing exactly 2 goals.
Wow.
So this wasn't a team that just came in and anything happened. They were tight games all the way through, and Pat Canadians had to earn everything they got through that 30 games. And Moose Jaw, that was a heck of a series. Such fun hockey to watch. So tight. The atmosphere in the C6 there over at the Cooperators was like, I don't even know how to describe it if you weren't there.
We tweeted it out. During the anthem, I was in that far corner, and I'm like, well, this is a good video right here, because I don't think we'll ever, and maybe next year with them, I've never seen it. I don't know if we'll ever see the place that jammed again.
This is the 3rd year they've been in the final in a row, and it's like, this is something I've never witnessed in my life for minor hockey. I had a friend of mine that was at the Cooperators at 4:45 the day of the game, knew that I was coming, and she sent me a text of there's probably 50 people in line already.
Yeah.
So we got there, me and my son got there to hold our spot in line at probably 5:45 for a 7:30 game, and I bet you we were 400th in line. So awesome. I love it. I absolutely thought it was remarkable. The atmosphere, standing in that line, I wanted to go be part of the line just because of how awesome it is, and support that team and their coaches and all those players. I think it's a fantastic thing, and hopefully people can watch it on Flow Hockey, Flow Sports, Flow Hockey.
Something like that,
So I'm looking forward to it. I have it on my Fire Stick, so I'm hoping to be able to pick up the games good there and watch them all throughout the weekend.
Yeah, we'll be monitoring that here, hopefully live on the SportsCage. I will purchase a subscription just to be able to watch it. So it's 14. So they do the round robin, then one team. See you later.
1 and 2. No,
that's just 1 and 2.
Round robin and 1 and 2, I believe, play on Sunday. Yeah.
Well, that'll be a good watch. It'll be a watch party at the Royal.
Maybe.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
You got to just get it on the Fire Stick, though.
Fire Stick. You got the taps. You got a nice kitchen there. How are the Sims doing there? I know every time we've given away the free golf at the Royal, the Sims, gone over like hot cakes, to use ting, a great term. But how's it going?
Yeah, they're rolling in. I see the coupons when they get used, so they're getting used. So thanks to whoever's getting them and using them. That's fantastic. But things have been busy there. I'm staring out the window daily, watching it slowly melt and hoping for spring to arrive. But like this slow melt. But the Sims have been really good. There is only 2 weeks left in them because we do got to take them down and get the dining room and everything set up and ready to go for hopefully late in April. Any members listening, don't come to my office and ask me that tomorrow. I'm just throwing it out there that maybe late sometime in April we can get outside and start playing. But things have to get prepared in that. But it's been really good.
The Sims, and just because you can play the Augusta course, which is the different name on these Sims, I played it. It's unreal. That mat. So what is it? Next Thursday.
Yeah.
The Masters starts. I got a funny feeling Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be really busy there.
Yeah, it'll be good. We'll have the Georgia Golf Club that looks eerily similar to Augusta National. And we actually will be launching our Masters Week menu as well next week. So got some flavors of Georgia on the menu, and have a couple drink specials, and a great spot to come down and watch a little bit of the Masters, and maybe swing the wrenches a little bit, get prepared.
What's Georgia like? Peach? Something peaches got to be then.
Yeah.
What else is Georgia famous for?
Well, they got all their the sandwiches and stuff that are at the Masters, and
pork missiles.
We do all that menu, and our chef does a good job of mixing in a few things, and it's it'll be really good.
I heard the beef dip or whatever a couple weeks ago was the best thing people have eaten.
Yeah, I think I had it 3 times.
Around tonight, it's WHL night. There's a ton of NHL games. We've talked WHL. How about the Calgary Flames last night? Did you see that? Did you hear it?
I actually was watching that, and I was listening just as I pulled up here. So an interesting thing for me, because I'm my coach's brain goes on, and I'm a nerd like that. But I'm watching the game, and that was all fourth line. So Lomberg scores, right? I think that was only his second or third goal of the year or something. But what I found interesting is they score to make it 2-1 with about 8-7 minutes left.
Yeah.
A shift goes out, and that fourth line went right back out. Klapka scores on that shift. So their fourth line goes back to back. They have another shift, and then the fourth line goes right back out, and that's when Klapka kind of Wedgwood ran into him. I'm not going to say ran him, but ran into. I just love it. That's a coach seeing that his guys are going regardless of where you have them slotted in, and they go out there and they give their team an opportunity, and they still have a heartbeat getting into the playoffs. They need some help. They need to go on a heater, but last night might have been the death knell if they don't get those 2 points. Yep. But they go and get 2 from Colorado, and they get to stay alive for another one, and another big one in Utah that they got to go get tonight.
Right back at it tonight in Utah. Like 2 point, you can't have one, can't have none. You gotta find out a way to get 2. And back to your coaching hat there. What do you think about the shootout? No Makar and McKinnon. Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't know. It's weird that sometimes those guys just don't seem to
analytics
be that.
come in.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I played, there was always guys, just like everyone growing up, there's always a kid on the roster that seems to win every week in the shootout and has 4 goals in the season or whatever, right? It's a different part of the game. They've obviously have a method to it, and guys that have been either successful or have a hot hand. But I wish I had a little bit of a better memory, but I remember someone in that shootout was 1 for 1 on the season too. So it's not like they necessarily go with guys that have done it a ton. Sometimes it's just who's been hot lately, maybe who's
Is that
dealing.
Charlie Coyle?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Other Canadian teams, in action today. Montreal, they're in action right now, tied 1-1 with the Florida Panthers. Montreal needs points. Ottawa's down 2-0 to the Buffalo Sabres, and we talked about the Flames in Utah later. The Edmonton Oilers are in Vegas to take on
that's a big one too.
And then I'm watching this one. Jets and Kings.
Yeah, the Kings are a hard team to play against for sure. I just watching the Leafs there the other night. I think that was Hockey Night in Canada. They're going to be tough to play, and like you said earlier, it looks like an Oilers-Kings matchup. I don't think it's going to be the Oilers-Kings matchup from a few years ago. Kings are going to be heavy and hard to play against, and it'll be an interesting series. The Oilers still do have the 2 biggest X factors in the NHL that can go out together or separate or whenever, so they're a big task.
Just wanted to give the funny update. We're saying earlier, do you think Ovi's going to score tonight? Where's he going to do it? Obviously, he's going to do it in front of the net. He got 1. He's 4 goals away now.
Nice. Tipped in, back door, just like I called it.
4. He's 4 away. Good job,
Beauty.
Curtis. Curling tonight, Canada taking on Italy. If you're making your way to Moose Jaw, should be a good one. We'll go to a break here. Thanks for coming in again, Ryan. Always a pleasure. We're going to rerun the interview we had with Canadian men's team coach Jeff Stoughton 11 Brier appearances, won it 3 times, 2 world championships. So we'll rerun that. It is the Sports Cage on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.